So as you guys are probably all well aware now, Line 6 has just released their incredible new HX Stomp pedal. And what I wanted to do, I have a couple videos up already, just really quick sort of intro videos. But what I wanted to do is do a slightly more in-depth video showing you how you can create patches, edit those patches, and a few other functions that some of the encoder knobs and buttons on the front do, and how we can kind of navigate our way around HX Stomp in a way that's going to be seamless and get our patches up and running as quickly as possible. Okay, so this is not really designed to be a totally exhaustive video, but just to sort of answer some of the questions that some of you folks might have concerning how we can navigate this with sort of the less knobs and buttons in comparison to our Helix. So let's go over, and I'm going to be in a little bit of a different setting, but let's go check out some of the features closer up on the unit itself. All right, be right back. Okay, so here we are with Line 6's latest offering, the absolutely amazing HX Stomp. And I just want to take you through a quick video. This is not going to be exhaustive by any means, but just something quick to show you how you can create patches and some of the functionality that we have without using HX Edit, more right on the unit itself. It has some similarities to Helix, and there are things about it that are going to be different. So obviously, because the less switches, less encoder knobs, etc., right? But let's dive in and take a look. So what's the first thing you're going to see when you dial up or turn on HX Stomp? Well, you're going to get some presets come up, as you can see here. I've been extremely fortunate to have been asked to provide some of the factory presets for HX Stomp. So any of the presets you see with JS beside it are under the DIR or direct category, are presets that I made especially for Line 6. And there's going to be some demo videos up of me playing through some of those just so you can hear what they sound like. And those are all the demos you hear are going to be the unaffected presets in the mix, right? I don't touch the sound of them after. It's just going to be the sound of HX Stomp. So let's talk first about how we scroll through presets. Well, we can simply take our encoder knob up here. What we have first is 5 encoder knobs, a volume knob over here, right? And some various buttons we'll talk about. All of these encoder knobs are push button knobs, okay? And you can see some of them have different functions depending on what pages we're on. But if we take our top encoder knob right here and turn that, we scroll through the presets that are available, right? If I press that, I actually see a list of all the presets that Line 6, here, let me come around this way, Line 6 has made available to us, right? So that's a very quick way to kind of whip through the presets, right? And we can just press it again. We have a home button here, which will always take us back and forth between whatever screen mode we're in and to sort of an edit page where we can start to see what the signal chain is and where we can play around with the blocks, right? So let's talk a little bit about when we're in this mode here. We basically have 4 modes we can use on HX Stomp. We have Stomp mode, we have scroll mode, we have preset mode, and we have snapshot mode, okay? Right now I'm in Stomp mode, meaning that these switches here can be assigned to whatever effect block we have in our path, which you can see sort of a miniaturized path here. So in this EJ Dover, which was kind of my quick take on Eric Johnson's Cliffs of Dover, we have the valve driver, we can turn it on and off, or the 63 spring verb, we can turn on and off. We also have a third button here, which is for tap tempo on our delay. So if I go really fast, you'll see that light flash faster, and if I slow that down, it's going to slow down to a slower tempo. I can also hold that and go to a tuner. One of my favorite new features with this is the strobe type tuner, which I've tested and it works out really beautifully, really amazing stuff. So big thanks to Line 6 for doing that. That's awesome. So this is Stomp mode. Well, what if we wanted to go to scroll mode? Well, all we do is we go to our page buttons here. And if I hit page right, now I'm in what we call scroll mode, which allows me to use my 2 buttons to scroll through presets. Maybe we're on stage and we want to be able to switch between those presets, right? So that might be the mode we want to be in. If I want to go to preset mode, I hit page again. Now I'm in preset mode. So I can have 3 presets, one assigned to each of the 3 switches that I can switch between very quickly. If I want to scroll to the next bank of presets, I can either scroll down by pressing buttons 1 and 2. As you can see, it goes that down to 11, bank 10. Or I could press these 2 where it's going to go back up to the other banks, right? And then I simply just press whatever button I want to access it. All right, so that's preset mode. And then we have snapshot mode. We can assign up to 3 snapshots because we only have 3 foot switches here. So that's all we're going to be able to get out of this snapshot 1, snapshot 2, snapshot 3. Okay, so that's our basic modes that we're going to have, and that, you know, depending on each of our own use and what we want to do with this, we're going to choose which one we feel comfortable with, right? And I can scroll through those just by using my page buttons, okay? So what's another use for our page buttons? Well, we'll see here at the bottom, I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's a line saying if we press both page buttons, what that does is it takes us into our menu, okay? So that gives us bypass, assign, controller, assign, global EQ, global settings. Any one of these that we want to access, we just press our encoder knob, and that's going to take us into whatever it is that we're looking at there, okay? So again, if I go back into menu, I can go to global settings, and you'll see now we have all our ins and outs, right? Input level, do we want that to be line or instrument? Output level, line or instrument, send return. Our page buttons scroll through the various functions. We can go to our top encoder knob up here, and we can go through all the different selections for our global settings up top. So that's very useful stuff, okay? All right, so if I go over to my mode where I'm going to be sort of in edit mode here, I don't know if that's what they're actually calling it, I'll call it that. So we'll call this edit mode, where we can actually play around with the parameters of the effects in the preset. So if I go to my top encoder knob, that's going to, and I hope you can see that, it's switching the effects blocks. Now, as I mentioned in another video, we can have 6 blocks in total in HX Stomp, okay? So it's obviously not as flexible as a Helix, it's a much smaller package, but it's amazing how wonderful a patch we can create just with these 6 blocks. And some of the presets I put together, I was really surprised. I was like, man, I really don't need much more than the 6 blocks, right? So in this preset that I made here, I can go from, you know, I have a valve driver, Brit, Plexi, Norm. Now that's going to be the amp and cab, right? I believe in this one I did amp. No, I did not in this one. Sorry, I put the cab later. But a lot of times with the presets I made in this, I did put the amp and cab together just to save block space, right? But I can scroll through my parameters, right, and go, there's a transistor tape delay, use the page buttons to scroll through the parameters. Spring reverb, there's my cabinet, right, 121 greenback, 20, 121 ribbon, 2 inches back, and so on and so forth, right? That's not the purpose of this video. I'm just kind of trying to take you through how we can navigate, right? And we still have output blocks, right, with level and pan, and we also have an input block, and this is wonderful. We still have our gate with threshold and decay. We still have impedance ability, right, which is great. Look, we can change 10 kilo ohm, 22 kilo ohm, 32 kilo ohm, and so on and so forth, or set it to auto. So that makes HX Stomp an amazing audio interface, even as a front end for Helix Native. So let's say we have this for playing live and we want to use it as in our studio as an audio interface. We're going to get the same input, same adjustable impedance settings, same conversion, everything that the Helix has, and then we can go right in with a very small package into a laptop, whatever, use Helix Native, sorry. So really incredible front end for native, right? Let's say we're working on a patch. Well, actually, let's do that. Let's go back here, and I'm just going to scroll through really fast to a new preset. Here we go. Okay, and I hit my home button. Now I've got a blank slate here. So here's how we start to put a preset together, and it's really simple. I've got my input block here, so I said, okay, I'm going to keep my impedance set at auto. Now what I can do here is use my bottom encoder knob, and I can either press it, and that's going to give me a list of all the effects I have available, just like in the Helix, right? And this has all the same effects as the Helix, right? So I could say, let's add an amp. Amp and cab, what the heck, okay? I'm just going to pick a Huat 100. Now I can scroll through my parameters. I can come down here and say I'm going to add a little bit more drive, peel the bass back a little bit, scroll through, now there's my speaker cab, right? Let's say I want a 121 ribbon and I want to pull it back 7 inches. I'm going to use a low cut, sorry, my hand's probably in the way in the video, at 80, and scroll through in a high cut at, I don't know, let's say 12 kilohertz. Okay, and that's good. We're fine with that. Now, if I want to move to the next block, I go to my top encoder knob and I just turn. Now I can add another block. I can press this again and say, well, let's say maybe I want to add a little bit of delay. I'm going to go with a stereo. And if you notice, I'm just pressing my encoder knobs, transistor tape, right? Now, if you take the time here, it says 507 milliseconds. Let's say that I want that set to a note value instead. I just press my encoder. Now it's quarter notes. Feedback I'll bring down. I'll bring my mix down to 26%. So let's say now I want to maybe add a reverb. So I come over to my reverb and I'll just go legacy, maybe plate, and again, bring the decay down, scroll with my page down and whatever. And then maybe now I want to go right to the end like I oftentimes do and put in my LA Studio comp that I like. Usually I go 5.5 and 5, and maybe I want to scroll with my page button over and get my mix control, bring that down so I have a little parallel compression and whatnot. So let's say that that's what I want to do now, and I want to save this. Well, simply I go like this, and you can see I had to make a little edit here. My camera stopped running. So I can use this middle encoder knob here to name this whatever I want, use my top encoder knob here to scroll through and choose whatever name I want. And then when I'm done with it and happy, I just hit save, right? And so now I have that all saved up and ready to go. I can hit my home button and I have J preset right in 35C. So that works really well. No issues with that. So we can see how simple this is to use and how logical it is. One other useful feature, which would probably be a question a lot of folks will have, is how we can move blocks around. And that's where the action button over here is going to come into play, right? So right now, let's say I'm on my reverb and I want to move that along. Well, I simply press action. You'll see it kind of raises that block up. Now I have a couple choices here, okay? I can choose to move that down to path 1B, right? So I can still do these kind of parallel style things. Hit the action button again. Now I can move and I've got a split block, just like in the Helix, right? I can choose that to be a split AB, split crossover, split Y, whatever I need it to be, right? So if we go to split AB, I could use that for various functions, right? So again, if I hit my action button, I can move this around to various places within that B path, or I can move it back to path A and move it along there, right? And when I'm done, I just hit my action block yet again. I could do the same thing for my delay, hit action. So let's say I wanted to copy and paste. I could go to my compressor and say copy block, can move to an empty spot, and then paste block, and it's going to give me that same thing. Same as clearing a block. I can hit action and use my scroll page buttons to go clear block, or I could clear all blocks with that as well, right? So as you can see. So we can move things around quite easily as well, just using our action button. Line 6 has made it pretty easy to do this, right? And we just use our encoder knob, and you'll even see it'll replace and kind of nudge other blocks out of the way to wherever we have to move them. Let's say we want to assign effects blocks to be able to turn on and off with our foot switches. Well, these are capacitive touch foot switches just like we have on our Helix. So we simply hit our home button, go back to our edit mode here for our preset. Now I can switch through to the transistor tape. I simply touch and hit OK. And now transistor tape is assigned to that. I could go over to my reverb, touch the next foot switch, hit OK. Now when I come out of that and I'm in stomp mode, you can see it's labeled this as transistor tape, this is plate. I can turn those on and off. And I can use tap tuner as well for tap tune. Now, if I go into global mode, there's all sorts of preferences within here as well, right? We can do recall snapshot edits or discard, just like in the Helix, right? We can adjust the different expression pedal, behaviors. If we come back out of that, We can decide what the foot switch 3 function is going to be, right? We can use it as a third snapshot up, all bypass, stomp 3, tap tuner, etc. So we have a few different possibilities for that. This is all going to be in the manual too. So your best bet would be to go check all of this out in the manual, right? We can also use snapshots much in the same way, right? Here I am in snapshot mode. Now, if I go here and say, you know, on snapshot 1, I want my who watt to have a lower drive setting. So I simply press and turn, and just like on the Helix, my encoder knob, it turns white, right? So now I can have that set, let's say at 4, right? Now if I hit the snapshot 2 button, and go up to 5.3 and snapshot 3, 6. Now what you'll notice is as I move through those, that parameter, I hope you can see that switching, will switch just like snapshot mode works on our Helix, right? Hopefully that was of some help. Again, I wasn't able to cover absolutely everything about HX Stomp. Please do download the manual, and that's going to give you a lot of insight into all the possibilities. But this really is an incredible little unit that I think is going to be the perfect front end for Helix Native, the perfect backup for a full-blown Helix, or just the perfect amp rig for somebody who doesn't need the complexity of what Helix, Helix LT, and Helix Native give us, where we want just a simple, you know, signal chain where maybe we're just using an amp and a cab, a little bit of reverb, a little bit of delay, a little bit of compression, and you can get some really incredible sounds out of this, despite the limitation of having only 6 blocks. So what an amazingly well thought out unit. It's built like a tank. It's just wonderful. So go check out your dealers now, guys. Check it out. Give HX Stomp a run, and I don't think you guys are going to be disappointed. It sounds amazing. It's built like a tank, and I think Line 6 really knocked it out of the park on this one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that and it helped. A little bit of a different video for me, but I do hope it was informative to answer some of the questions you may have had about this wonderful new product. All right, keep an eye out for more videos on it. I'm going to be doing some dialing in videos specifically for the HX Stomp and show you how I will go around the limitation of the 6 blocks and coming up with really great sounding presets anyways. All right, so thanks for tuning in, guys. Please like the video and share it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll be back soon with some more content. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll talk soon.